Tesla stock has now doubled since the start of 2023 and is up 5% here on the day. And it's kind of hard to deny that Tesla is going through a short squeeze right now. It looks to be the only obvious answer to what is happening. Now, why is this happening? That's a bigger question that everyone wants to know. And what are the major events that could cause Tesla to go higher from here or potentially go lower from here? That is what we're going to get into here in this video. Besides that, we do have important economic data coming out tomorrow that could help further shift sentiment in the markets to a more extreme bullish phase or potentially a negative phase over the next couple of days. As you guys are probably well aware of, next week on Valentine's Day, you are going to get CPI that will be released, and that will be the real moment of truth for this market and could have big implications for Tesla. So let's get into everything you guys need to know on the day. Do me a quick favor if you are watching that video, so that should be every single one of you guys, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you make it to the end of this video. So let's get into exactly what is going on with Tesla, and I'm going to assume that you guys know what has happened as far as why Tesla sold off in November and December. Long story short, it was demand concerns. Well, on Tesla's earnings, they had record profits, record top line, bottom line. Margins did take a little bit of a hit, not quite as what people were expecting, but it doesn't even matter because demand concerns were way overblown, and this has actually been the best start to any year for Tesla as far as demand and actual sales that they have been seeing. Who knows, Elon said that could change, but for right now, it looks like we're seeing very strong demand out of Tesla. Over the last couple of days, you got 66,000 deliveries in China alone. That puts Tesla well on pace to meet or exceed 1.8 million vehicles delivered in 2023, which was Tesla's guidance. So for those good reasons, Tesla stock has been going higher. Now, there has been a lot of people that were short on Tesla that are now starting to get burned, and it really looks like a short squeeze effect has started to take place within the stock. And what is helping to fuel Tesla stock higher today is this. So you have a major upcoming event with Tesla, and kind of this whole market environment that we've been in ever since the FOMC meeting has made for a rewarding market. If you have done good, if you have issued good guidance, especially, before earnings like Tesla, nobody really liked Tesla. They all thought there's no way Tesla's going to meet these numbers, 50% growth rates for 2023. Well, after Fed Jerome Powell, he kind of green-lighted the markets to rally. He has since kind of rolled back some of those comments, but it has created a market environment that can seriously reward companies that are doing good, and that's a lot different than the market environment you were in 2022. So to a certain degree, things have gotten less risky, put that in quotes however you guys want to word it, because it's all relative. Things could deteriorate by next week, by the next inflation report. That's always a possibility, but as of right now, the markets are more comfortable with where we are currently at, the prospects of a soft landing and the Fed eventually pausing raising rates before the middle of this year. And even as of the last couple of days, interesting enough, the markets are now pricing in a higher Fed funds rate. They're pricing in a higher terminal rate based off of what these speakers have said, and the markets have really not reacted negatively at all to that. So all of this seems to be a pretty positive market environment and pretty positive sentiment overall with Tesla. Now, the next big catalyst for Tesla will be the automaker's investor day on March, at which Musk said he will unveil his Master 3 plan, which will detail his path to a fully sustainable energy future for Earth. Now, this is expected to be a scaling event where Tesla kind of lays out how they can scale, when they can, produce XYZ factories and get the world to sustainable energy. Some people are arguing maybe there's going to be a new vehicle promoted or it's going to be announced. I doubt that, since we haven't even got the Tesla truck yet, Tesla Cybertruck. So I doubt that is going to be the case. But I think just the scale announcements could be exciting to investors. But again, after Tesla has these events, the stock does tend to sell off. So keep that in mind. It's not like this is going to be a home run for the stock, even considering it's up 100% in just the course of a couple of weeks. But that is a lot of this big hype that we have been seeing. You are also getting pretty good earnings out of Toyota, and it says Toyota shares are climbing higher today as the world's largest automaker reported a beat on both the top and bottom lines earlier today. For Toyota's fiscal Q3, the company reported revenue of $74.6 billion. That topped estimates a net profit of $5.54 billion, also topping analysts' expectations. Blah, 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 blah. It said demand looks good. Basically the same thing that all EV makers have said, or just automakers in general, right? GM, Ford, they all kind of said the same thing, that believe it or not, demand is still good. Even though the Fed has been raising rates for so long, driving rates to the highest level they've been at in 20 years, demand is still good. So that is also helping Tesla, but I think more than any of this, you're really starting to get a short squeeze on Tesla stock. There's been a lot of shorts that have been short on Tesla for a long time, and going back to what I said about market environment, you're not in the right market environment to be shorting Tesla or really shorting anything unless you think CPI is going to come in much higher than expectations next week. If that's the case and that happens, well, you're probably going to get paid out pretty fat if you're making trades today based off of that. But as a whole, it looks a lot more enticing to just cover on your short position, at least. Maybe not now, granted Tesla's up 100%, but some people are getting squeezed out of their positions, and that is very prevalent and obvious here today with Tesla up over 5.5% on not too crazy news. I mean, there's not really any company-specific news at all with Tesla. Obviously, Toyota just had earnings, and people are excited about this investor day, this presentation, but in all reality, nothing really happened today. Now, as far as the interesting option flow sentiment, you have seen 796 orders totaling $209.5 million here on the day, 78% positive order value. If you take a look at the total value of some of these options, you can see a lot of them are calls, right? Take a look at some of these options. $79.5 million position. Or trade, I should say. January 17, 2025 option expiration, 175 call. $80 million, just like that. Same exact trade with a $5 less strike. That strike being 170 call for 2025. $82 million trade. January 19, 2024. Let me see. 150 call, and it just did update because there was one more that came through. The 150 call for January 19, 2024. $181 million. January 19th, 2024, 153.33 call for $176 million. And this is basically the story all the way down the chain. You're seeing people really betting on Tesla as far as these options in a huge way. And these orders came in yesterday, 2 days ago. So it's not like these options were placed a long time ago. They're placing these options when the stock is already up 100%, right? So long story short, there's a lot of people getting squeezed on this position, and you might actually start to see a lot of gamma squeeze activity as well, especially as you are seeing hundreds of millions of dollars in individual orders going into Tesla. Something to keep in mind, especially if you're short on the stock. Hedge funds are becoming a lot more bullish on Tesla, and that should make you bullish if you are also a long-term investor in the name. Now, as far as the economic data that came out today, weekly jobless claims increased 13,000 to 196,000. This is 7,000 jobs above the average estimate that we had from analysts. Now, this is not necessarily a good thing, because what Fed Jerome Powell beautifully outlined, like there is no confusion about this right now. Even if inflation continues to come down, we still need to see labor market conditions weaken. You need to see the consumer weaken. Even if inflation continues to come down, the Fed has made it very clear, you need to see weakening in the economy with the consumer, and this is not showing that. When you start to get 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, a million weekly jobless claims, that's where you could say, hey, the consumer is really starting to feel the pain of the Fed raising rates. When you're getting reports like this on a week-to-week basis that are like this, I mean, it's hard to say the consumer's weakening. It's hard to say the Fed is going to stop raising rates. So believe it or not, This is not necessarily a positive thing on the day, even though it does show the odds of soft landing are looking better than not, right? People still have a job, they could still spend money, but it's not really what the Fed wants to see, and that could make the Fed raise rates more and keep them higher for longer. Now, as far as the economic calendar, what you have in store for tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning, is the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey. Really, the thing that the markets care about the most out of this is going to be the Michigan 5-year inflation expectations. You're expecting that to come in at 2.8%. Last month's reading was 2.9%. And the inflation expectations for 2023, you're expecting 3.8%. Last month's reading was 3.9%. So you are expecting a tick down in both of these. If that does not happen, that will be a negative thing, and that will be something that could drastically move the markets. That could cause a 2 to 3% drop tomorrow, or a big rally, especially if inflation expectations go down more than that 0.1% that you are expecting. So a lot of potential volatility coming tomorrow with that. And then next week you have in store CPI and a lot of other economic data as well. As far as earnings in after hours, you're going to get PayPal, Cloudflare, Lyft, Expedia, Aura, Dexcom, Bloom Energy, Alteri, Yellow, and Energy Partners LP. None of these are going to be too big for the stock market. PayPal might be the most important one, I would argue, because that is payment processing. More people that are making purchases, right, sending money back and forth. Theoretically, PayPal should do better, right, if more people are transacting. If their earnings are bad, it might show people are not transacting as much, and that could be a negative sign for the economy. So do keep that in mind. That's going to be the biggest one in after hours. You're going to get a lot of small caps, mid caps that do report next week. That's really not going to be the story at that point. It's going to all be about CPI. Now, if we take a look at Tesla on a technical chart, this is the interesting part. You blew through the resistance level at $200. If you were going to find weakness or people trying to offload the stock, it would have been at the $200 level, a level you got rejected at twice in November. You blew through above that, so I think almost guaranteed the next stop is 226. That is the 200-day moving average. If you break out above that, believe it or not, your next resistance level is not until about 240 on Tesla. So I do think that is a very real possibility right now. And that might be exciting to some people. It might be depressing to other people. But it's important that you guys pay attention to what is happening with your investments, what is happening with your trades. Tesla continues with record high volume. Now, let's get into some of these technical indicators, and then we will wrap up this video. The RSI is in overbought territory. Last time you were at this level was back here in November of 2021, and Tesla effectively went from 260 to 415. So, I mean, it's been a good rally so far, but that's not quite the same extent to what we could see, and especially once you start to get above, call it 240, 250, you could get squeezed to 300 if a short squeeze and a gamma squeeze does continue to take hold in Tesla. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that is exactly what is going on. Now, if you take a look at the Bollinger Bands, you are way above the highest end Bollinger Band. That does statistically show that you should probably come down. But again, you're just barely at this top end band. It doesn't necessarily mean that you do have to come down. The MACD is in very bullish territory, but still not even as bullish as you were back in August of 2022. You're about at the same level. If you start to get higher than where you are at on the MACD, which is around 15, actually about 16, if you start to get higher than that, you start to get to this 40 level, that's where you could see the stock get batted down by a lot of those algos. But as of right now, guys, things are looking pretty good. I would be a little cautious here, though. This is not the time to go super bullish on Tesla unless you have a specific defined risk to reward strategy. Just because it has doubled up in the course of just a couple of weeks, there's eventually going to be a pullback. That's eventually. It doesn't have to be soon, but eventually there will be, and you don't want to be caught off guard with that because premiums are going to be high after this stock has taken a move like this one, guys. So that is going to be all for this video. We did cover a lot. If you made it to the end of this video, and especially if you learned something out of this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, give me your feedback down below in the comment section. What do you guys think about this information? What do you think about CPI? What do you think about the Tesla short squeeze that has to be happening? Shorts have to be getting squeezed out of their positions to really gap up above resistance levels in the way that you're seeing and the option activity that you're seeing. Let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. What are your price targets? All of that information. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.